He was asked if he was president, if he would sign Medicare for all into law if it landed on his desk. He said, I would veto anything that raised taxes on American families. But do you know what is the most important part of that entire exchange? He was never gonna get a Medicare for all bill landing on his desk. It wasn't gonna happen. And then you guys take the bait because you hate normie libs and you hear him say that and you hear that answer and you're like, you see, he doesn't want to give you health care. And then what does Biden do when he's president? You mother. Now I'm crashing out. You fucking mother. Then what does Biden do when he's president? We get healthcare coverage in this country at the highest rate the country had ever seen. 95% of people in this country had healthcare coverage on his watch. And instead of focusing on that, you focus on a bullshit question from 2020 that didn't matter. You are missing the forest through the fucking trees, man. For the love of God. You know who I am blackpilled on, guys? No, I'm not blackpilled. You know who I'm kind of blackpilled on, guys, more than anything else? I'm just gonna it's accepted, okay? I am just gonna unabashedly accept my role moving forward as just a full-throated Democratic Party shill. Let's just fucking do it. Let's make it official. We can get like a ribbon or like a uniform or a hat or a tattoo. I'm just gonna commit, bro. I am fully in the tank for the Democratic Party. Because you know what I'm kind of blackpilled on, guys? The fucking voters. The pesky fucking voters. I mean, think about it, because this is remarkable. Biden, and this is Biden's fault, kind of, right? I mean, not in a vacuum, but like it's mostly Biden's fault. Democratic voters are now at a point, and this is just a sentence that just seems kind of, we'll know more when we get more polls probably next week about this primary, because I guarantee you there's a ton of pollsters in Maine right now that are asking a lot of people, you know, Democratic primary voters. So we're going to get a clearer picture of how this scandal, or I don't know what you call it, how it impacts the races. But I'm internally preparing for his popularity to go up, you know. But because of Joe Biden, we're potentially in a universe where Democratic Party primary voters in Maine think that age is more of a liability than a Nazi tattoo. That's what's going on here. Joe Biden, the things he did as president should have given progressives in this country like actual orgasms. The way he governed as president was by far more than Obama, more than Clinton, more than Carter, maybe not more than LBJ, you know, like the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act is pretty fucking progressive. More than JFK, you know, like without a doubt, there's no debate about this. Just the most progressive, one of the most progressive presidents literally that has ever served. He was doing things that should have made progressives so fucking horny that they have to excuse themselves during the work week, you know, like they have to go to the bathroom to fucking rub one out or flick the bean. And none of it mattered. I mean, it mattered, but none of it mattered enough to voters. You know what mattered to voters? Him stuttering from time to time and mixing up people's names and, you know, walking like an old guy and then having a brain zap moment on a debate stage. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't have been concerned about his age. It's not like I wasn't, but to me, it didn't matter. Like, it just didn't. You know, it was not, anytime you watched a press conference from him, it was always kind of like anxiety provoking because it's like, oh God. You know, does anybody remember what happened the fucking day after the debate? What I recall happening, I think, the day after the debate. Okay, so put yourself in the mindset of the debate, right? Like, really rough start. It did get a little better, you know, as the debate went on. Not by much, but it did get a little better. Like, it was definitely a rough start to that debate. And then I'm in my head thinking, fucking hell, like there's just no good options right now. He stays in the race. Don't love that option. Drops out of the race. Don't love that option. It was just, you know, it was just like, all right, well, okay. You know, here we go. And so it was like, what do we do? What are we going to do? Well, let's see how he reacts. That was like my first reaction, because replacing a nominee that close to the election is unheard of and very risky. And so it's not that I didn't see the danger of him staying in the race, but the alternative is also just not great. And so, and Kamala's numbers were horrible at that time. They got better when she became the nominee, but she was polling like 2 points behind him, you know? So the next day, Joe Biden introduces Volodymyr Zelensky in a press conference.
So look, it's worth...
I did see this, yeah. One small problem. He introduced Volodymyr Zelensky as President Putin the day after the debate. And it was like, shit. I think there's a clip that went nuts on Livestream Fail of me just like, I physically just cringed. He did catch it. That's true. That's true. He did catch it. That's true. But all this to say, now because people got so freaked out about Biden, they're like, we got to get rid of the old people. We got to do a purge of a nonviolent purge of old people. Got to get them out. And so because of that, now people are like, okay, yes, he has a literal Nazi tattoo. I hear that. I do. I hear that. But Janet Mills is old. So hard to say. You know, like that's the Biden impact. And I mean, I don't know what that says about Democratic primary voters, but it's nothing good. Not good. We had it so good with Biden, bro. We had it so fucking good, bro. And it's gone. Just like that, it was gone. Poof. Fucking Kaiser Soze. That's what Biden is, man. He's the Kaiser Soze of modern presidents. Now we got this climate of like Democratic voters. We touched on this on the podcast. Me and Pisco got into it again, right? Now we have this climate in America where it's like there's this resounding do something refrain from Democratic voters while we're in the minority. And it's like, that is just not how this works. That is just not the fuck how this works. Anyways, I'm fucking really blackpilled on voters right now. There's just this like, and it isn't just like Republican Party voters. It's like Democratic Party voters right now are just, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to like fix this. I don't know how to fix this because like, here's the thing. Like we talk about the asymmetry of expectations between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, but there's also another really important asymmetry because there is a significant chunk, though they are still the minority, but there's a significant chunk of the Democratic voter base that really long for transformational change. They're not looking for incremental change. They're looking for a significant shift on not just policy, but just like the culture of politics. And then, you have the rest that they might be interested in progress and they might want, more healthcare reforms and more kind of like improvements on the margins, but they're not as averse to incremental change, right? And then but this this is causing a lot of tension. This is causing a lot of tension. And the tension is not going away. And there's no way to reconcile the tension right now. We can't fix the tension. There's nothing that can happen to fix this tension right now. It's just I just feel like we're kind of locked in this tension. And so you have that going on in the Democratic Party. But generally speaking, apart from that, right? Like that's like intra-party dynamics. But just, apart from that, when you look at what the Democratic Party wants to do, like within that spectrum, progressive to, transformational change versus incremental change, within that spectrum though, Democrats are trying to do things. They're trying to do government, trying to improve government, provide government services, introduce government regulations, do public-private partnerships, to do infrastructure projects. Like we're trying to do things and build things and move the country in a direction that we would say is forward. Like we want to move the direction forward. And we may disagree amongst ourselves about what's the best way to do that, but we do agree that we can do better and we should do better, and that's what we're trying. And then what are the Republicans trying to do? They're trying to just break shit. They want to dismantle government agencies instead of strengthen them. They want to cut taxes. They want to cut the number of IRS agents that we hire to collect tax revenue, which is just like the safest investment that you could make in the American government is to hire an IRS agent. Each individual IRS agent is responsible for collecting shitload of money, shitload of revenue. And then, you know, and then Donald Trump is elected, and it's like, and then here's Doge. The things that the Republican Party want to do, like the highest priorities for them, are things that they can do with budget reconciliation and executive authority and executive orders. So they can enact their agenda much easier than we can. The Democratic Party agenda, you know, what's been the big top line issue for over a decade now, maybe 2 decades? Healthcare, just improving healthcare, expanding healthcare access, expanding Medicaid subsidies. And then you have a faction of the party that want to do single payer, and they're not really going to be happy until that happens. And in order to do the things that we want to do in a way that is meaningful and lasting, we would need to get rid of the filibuster or pass legislation with 60 votes. And so that's a pretty serious asymmetry. That's a pretty fucking serious asymmetry. And so then you have a part of the Democratic voter base who, I'm going to be fucking snarky for a minute. Quite frankly, I think many of them need to crack open a fucking book and just brush up on like basic civics. That seems to be sorely lacking these days. And so I don't really see how this changes. And you guys tell me, like, how does this change anytime soon? I have no idea. Maybe IRI is right, you know, like what if Republicans are the ones that get rid of the filibuster and then we inherit a government without a filibuster, and then you get to just go, right? And maybe that is best case scenario. I really don't know. But like, you know, Econo Boy, shortly before he left the podcast, his whole thing was like, we're not going to be able to like efficiently fight back against fascism unless we actually deliver meaningful and transformational legislation, and we can't do that without the filibuster. And so, like his whole thing was like, we need to get rid of the filibuster. Like there has to be, you know, there has to be like a central plank of the party. And I was like, well, I don't know about that. Sure, but it doesn't help when people say things like, I'd veto single payer even if it came on my desk. That is actually not what Joe Biden said. He actually did not say that. First of all, he was asked if he was president, if he would sign Medicare for all into law if it landed on his desk, were he to be elected. And the reason he was asked that is because the media that covers politics are invested in conflict and tension. And they know that Medicare for all causes conflict in the party. And so they're just baiting him. Because what did he say? He said, I would veto anything that raised taxes on American families. But do you know what is the most important part of that fucking entire exchange? You understand what the most important part of that is? None of that matters. The question didn't matter. It's a non-question. It had no relevance to the race. It had no relevance to the next Congress and to the next presidential term. It didn't matter. We weren't going to get it. It wasn't going to land on his desk. There was no universe where at any point in Biden's first 2 years, when he had majorities in Congress to work with, there was no chance of Medicare for all landing on his desk. Zero. It was a dumb bullshit question that didn't matter. And they asked that question because they know that Democrats fight about single payer versus expanding Obamacare. We just constantly fight about that shit. That's the only reason that they asked. It didn't matter. So why not just sign it? It didn't. You're not listening to me. It didn't matter. There's no it. There's no fucking it. He was never going to get a Medicare for all bill landing on his desk. It wasn't going to happen. And then you guys take the bait because you hate normie libs and you hear him say that and you're not able to understand the context of the question and the answer. And you hear that answer and you're like, you see, he doesn't want to give you health care. And then what does Biden do when he's fucking president? You motherfuckers. Now I'm crashing out. You fucking motherfuckers. Then what does Biden do when he's president? He expands Medicaid, or I'm sorry, he we get healthcare coverage in this country at the highest rate the country had ever seen. 95% of people in this country had healthcare coverage on his watch, the highest rate of coverage ever in the country. And instead of focusing on that, you focus on a bullshit question from 2020 that didn't matter. You are missing the forest through the fucking trees, man. For the love of God. Fucking voters, man. Fucking voters, man. They're just like, there's no perspective. There's no historical context. There's none of that. It's just like, we got a good thing going right now, man. We got a good thing going. We got a good thing going. And yet, if you talk to the like Democratic voters, they're like, this is the worst political party ever. And like, I don't know how to fix that. Your anger at voters seems exclusive to the left and not Trump voters. No, you're right, Narrow. Perhaps I've been unclear. I think it would be totally reasonable for you to think that I have a very high opinion of Trump voters. And that's my bad for not clarifying that before. Boy, oh boy, should I have been more creative and open about my disdain for Trump voters, because I famously never talk about how utterly fucking insane the Republican Party is, and how it's just basically one giant cult, and how they're all, basically insane and completely unredeemable and unsalvageable, both as individual human beings and as a political party and a broader movement moving forward. I've certainly never talked about how the movement has devolved into a fascistic cult of personality that is currently at the whims of a complete madman that is utterly corrupt and visibly declining in a way that is similar to Joe Biden. Surely I could have done more to make that position more clear in the past, and I will be sure to talk about that more in the future. My complaint about Democratic Party voters is like, I know that you're better than this. And my complaint about MAGA voters is, yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, that tracks. What does that bumper sticker say? Yeah, no. Yeah, I fully expect that from you. That's the difference, I wonder what political ideology allowed for the electorate to turn out like this. Does it rhyme with schmeobibleralism? It does. That's interesting. Because Joe Biden was the least neoliberal, he broke 40 years of precedent. You goddamn motherfucker. Joe Biden broke 40 years of strong neoliberal precedent that governed 6 different administrations before he came along. And he broke precedent and moved away, not entirely away, but he moved away from neoliberal governance. And you crucified him. You fucking Brutus. You fucking Judas. You stabbed him with a knife on the Senate floor. You gave him up to Pontius Pilate. Guess what, motherfucker? Neoliberalism stock going way up again. Now's the time to get in. Now's the time to invest. Because neoliberalism is coming back in a big, big way in the Democratic Party. I can fucking guarantee you that. This is a bad thing, isn't it? It's just really unlikely that we're going to get another president like Biden anytime soon. What's the conversation happening right now, in all these Democratic think tanks about how to get the party back on its feet, We're all hearing the same thing. They're all saying the same thing. In a nutshell, they're all saying, stop letting the fringes of the party shape campaigns in such a direct way. That's what they're saying. They're all saying, move closer to the center. Stop trying to placate. That approach worked well in November. It's up to the voters, bro. Joe Biden gave you a glimpse at an alternative vision to neoliberalism. Gave you a glimpse of that. And, he was basically chased out of the party with fucking pitchforks because he was old as fuck. You got to stop looking at it here's what the party is gonna do. Oh, they're gonna do this thing or they're gonna do that thing. It's all just a collective one thing. They're gonna choose to not do this and do this and da. The voters are gonna decide what kind of candidates advance through the primaries And then after those primary contests, there's going to be general contests. And if they win the general, that's who the voters picked. That will determine the makeup of the party and the direction of the party. I just hear people frame their goals in a way of like, we got to get the Democratic Party to do this thing. And it's like, you have a way to do that. Instead of like shouting at Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, like you have a way to do that. Go out there and help elect people that you think will bring about that change.
There was a poll that came out today or yesterday that since the shutdown began, approval of Democrats by Democrats has risen dramatically, right? It was like something in the 30s. Now it's in like the high 50s.
I fucking told you this was going to happen, by the way. Let me just crash out again. I fucking told you guys. Yeah, how many months did these snarky goddamn fucking far lefties come into my chat and they're like, look at Democratic Party approval. Look at approvals in the toilet. Got to clear house and just get rid of everybody and just elect 350 Mamdanis. I told you, watch those numbers. They're gonna go up. I promise you. I promise you, they're gonna go up. I fucking told you that was gonna happen.
So there's just a bunch of people out there, Democrats, who are desperate to see their leaders put up a fight, and just seeing Democrats being willing to hang together and say, no, we're drawing the line on healthcare. There's a lot of bad shit going on, a lot of stuff that's wrong, a lot of ways in which we need to fight back, a lot of reasons to not fund this government, but we're gonna draw the line on healthcare. We're gonna make that our fight. We're gonna pick that fight. And we're going to take it to its end. We're going to hang together. That's impressive. They've done it. Probably better than I think a lot of people hope for in terms of the politics of it. And it's led people to say, okay, all right, they're willing to do that. That doesn't solve everything. There's a lot of problems, but it tells you that there's that like Democrats are willing to listen and say, hey, they'll respond, right? Like you're willing to fight, we'll have your back, right? That's a good sign. There's I think I can't remember who it was, but there was a question on about who represents the future of the Democratic Party. Is it Abigail Spanberger or is it Zohran Mamdani? Right? And the answer is yes.
Both. Yeah, that's a good answer. Yes. That's the answer to that question. Yes. You're never gonna have a Democratic Party that is ideologically homogenous. It's not gonna happen. Not gonna fucking happen, you guys. People are like, we want this takeover. You're not going to take it over. You like the whole point of the fucking Democratic Party is like, we're all in that tent, they're just like the moderates are not going to make the progressives like more moderate probably, probably. And the progressives are probably not going to make the moderates like a lot more progressive, maybe a little bit of movement one way or the other on this issue or that issue or whatever. But like it's a big tent party and there's going to be fucking different voters and